Welcome in, everyone, and David, and all the viewers on YouTube. Got a new little look on the YouTube channel. Shuffled it up a little bit, David. You on mute there, buddy.
No, I got you. It was a little jumpy. Are you hearing me all right?
I'm hearing you okay. Are you hearing me okay?
Yep. I'm good, buddy.
I think you were secretly on mute, and you just don't want to admit it. It's kind of.
I'm not afraid to admit the mute.
It's kind of your thing. This is going to be a good show. It's the last week of preseason, David. Are you excited? I'm ready. I'm ready for the regular season to be here already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone knows. That's insane, though, that the regular season is already here and this preseason is over. But like you said, I think everyone's happy about that. Look, we need to get out of the preseason. No more injuries, okay? So everyone just chill out.
Injury-free. That's right. I mean, I'm ready to get into the regular season, but I think the Hornets have a lot still to look at in terms of preseason because they're not going to have Nick Batum for the foreseeable future. So they've got some things to figure out on that end. I talked to Malik Monk about that at practice yesterday. So we'll hear it. We got a few good minutes with Malik Monk coming up as well. So, yeah.
I just got that pun. A few good minutes, by the way.
Great flick. Was like a classic USA movie that you could pop in at really any point and enjoy. That's the real genius of that movie, is that you really could get into that movie 10 minutes or 70 minutes in, and you left satisfied.
Oh, it's an all-timer. I just found a good deal on it on iTunes, so now I own it forever and ever. I can watch whenever I want.
That was quick.
Unedited.
That was quick, David. That's how easily you're influenced. Hey, if you're on YouTube right now, make sure to chat with us on the live chat. We're going to be talking here for about 20, 30 minutes, so we want to hear from you. Hit us up, say hello. All right, without further ado, let's get into the show.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
This is Locked On Hornets, your daily podcast on the Charlotte Hornets and the NBA. Make sure to follow the Locked On Podcast Network on whatever you use to get your podcast. Just search for Locked On to get podcast on the NBA, the NFL, and fantasy sports. We are coming to you live from the Gittimer.com studios in BEA, beautiful uptown Charlotte, heart of the Queen City, on this Monday, the beginning of the end of Charlotte Hornets preseason. They'll wrap that up at the end of the week and start to get ready for a regular season tip-off next Wednesday against the Detroit Pistons in Detroit, and we will have full coverage all the way throughout the rest of this season. I'm Doug Branson, joined by my good friend, the man, the myth, the legend, David Walker. Your name's up there on the screen. Look at that.
My name is there. My face is here. The rest of me is here as well. Doug, yet another preseason game, but no TV tonight, my friend. What are you going to do?
Well, we found out it looked like the Detroit Pistons in the last game were trying to stream the game on their Facebook channel. So they attempted to do it. So I may look at Miami's
for doing that.
I may look at Miami's Facebook channel, see if they're trying to pull the same thing. I'll definitely be tuning in to 102.5 WFNZ to hear the sweet tones of Steve Martin, Matt Carroll calling the game, or on the Hornets app. You can also listen there. And then, of course, I'll be tuning in for the Locked On Hornets postgame. No postgame immediately after the game tonight because it's not televised, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to watch it. But we'll definitely have analysis for you tomorrow morning, so you definitely want to check that out. As you said, the Hornets take on the Miami Heat tonight in Miami for their third preseason game. This will be the last road test, David, before the regular season. They'll pop home for a game Wednesday that will be televised on ESPN against the Boston Celtics and then wrap preseason on Friday against the Dallas Mavericks. This will be the first preseason game since learning that Nick Batum will miss extended time. They're still evaluating treatment options on that sprained elbow, that torn UCL in his elbow. Still trying to figure out exactly what that timeline is going to look like, but we know for sure he will miss some time. Jeremy Lamb will start in place of Nick Batum. So, David, what are you going to be watching for in this game against the Miami Heat?
Well, just for the Hornets, like you said, how Lynn, 1 year removed, still saying Jeremy Lamb, how he slides in there. And I think the thing we hit on last week was the difference in the ability to create. You know, Batum was such a creator for others. And once you get past Kemba Walker, Doug, I mean, who is the next best creator? I mean, who else do they have out there, especially with, no Michael Carter-Williams. He did practice a little bit over the weekend, so he may be on his way back, hopefully. But that's a big hole in that offense. And Marvin Williams said as much, I think, yesterday at practice. No one man is going to replace Nick Batum. But for the most part, the bulk of it is going to fall on Jeremy Lamb. I just wonder, he's had such a good preseason and a good training camp. Does this – I hope he's able to just kind of contain and stay within himself and not try and fill in for everything that we'll be missing with Nick Batum. You know what I mean? Because that's a big hole to fill.
That's it. No, it's a perfect point, David. The question is, can the Hornets continue to move the ball without Nick Batum and with Jeremy Lamb slotted into that starting shooting guard position? Will it be a matter of players like Kemba Walker and Jeremy Lamb and others, maybe even Marvin Williams, sort of picking up that distribution slack that you're going to miss without Nick Batum? Or will we see a dramatic shift in the game plan to accommodate the strengths of the players that will suddenly be put into maybe different positions than they thought they were going to be put into before the Nick Batum injury? I asked Steve Clifford about this in practice. How much of it is players adjusting their game to try to make up for what Nick brought to that lineup, and how much of it is game plan? And it sounded like from Cliff that, you want players to play to their strengths. And I kind of understand that, right? You don't want to ask players to try to, not play outside of their game, essentially, and creating is not necessarily Jeremy Lamb's game. Now, I think they could fairly ask him to continue to move the ball. It's something that he hasn't always been prone to do. Does a lot of dribbling, wants to get left, and sometimes when he's on a roll and the defense, having scouted him, wants to move him right, he's determined to get to the left. And sometimes he holds on to the ball a little too long instead of moving it. So I think that's one of the things that I'll be watching. Can this team still move the ball effectively with Jeremy Lamb in the lineup? And will Lamb be enough of a threat from beyond the arc to allow spacing for Kemba Walker and MKG to penetrate and for Dwight Howard to work effectively in the post? Lamb said that during media day that he recognized that he didn't shoot the ball well from beyond the arc, and he was working to fix it.
I think last year I didn't shoot the three like I wanted. Some of it is my mindset. Some of it is maybe wasn't getting good shots, or I was shooting shots that off the dribble that I don't usually shoot. I watched film, try to see where I was comfortable shooting, the shots I made, how my feet
Do we have
were,
that sound, Doug?
how my release was.
Sorry, that's
the shots I missed, how my release was, how my feet were. So just trying to tweak, that.
We did have that sound, David. Did you not hear that?
Oh, no, that's fine. I don't need to hear it. As
All
long
right.
as the people heard it. As long as the people heard it, Doug.
The people did. I'll figure out why you didn't hear it maybe after the show.
No big deal.
But essentially, he said that he's been working on it in the offseason, been watching tape, not necessarily trying to shoot off the dribble as much. I think that's where he got into trouble last season, trying to shoot off the dribble as opposed to shooting off the catch. But again, that says he needs things to be created for him. So who in this instance is the guy that will create for him? Got to say some hello to some people in the chat right now. David saying hello, David M, and then Double M15. What up, Nest? What's going on? Howard might be able to dish from the post. You hope so. I mean, you hope Dwight Howard can do that. We've heard a lot from Steve Clifford in terms of Dwight Howard's intelligence and knowing where the ball needs to be, whether it's with him or moving it to find someone else. Certainly you hope that his post offense was as effective as it was against Detroit, and that's going to start to draw some attention. Now, that may take a few games into the regular season of playing really well to start to draw that attention, but that was one of the things that they wanted from Howard on the offensive end, was to draw some attention, similar to what Al Jefferson was able to do to open up some spacing that might not necessarily have been there with Cody Zeller.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's surprising, actually, how ineffective Lamb has been overall since he's been in Charlotte shooting that three, Doug. I mean, barely over 30% his first year. And I think you mentioned last week a career worst 28% shooting three last year. And your concern that you raised is totally valid. I mean, the spacing issue, which is already going to be a little bit of a challenge just with the newness of Howard, and you have MKG in there, of course. But, if Lamb's not able to at least create a threat and keep people honest out there, then that is going to be a bit of an adjustment for everybody. And that's what I hope he can do. I mean, you think of him as a scorer, but clearly the shooting numbers show, especially from distance, that, he's not exactly lethal. So they're going to have to figure some things out. And it's just like, the preseason, like we said, is basically over. They've got a few more games to figure this thing out. You start to wonder, and we'll hear a little bit from Monk. You talked to him yesterday, where he can fit in, because he's certainly confident on offense. And maybe he's the second, maybe he's the next creator out there that they'll need.
Yeah, but going back to Lamb's shooting, he shot 2 of 4 from beyond the arc in Boston and 0 of 3 when he stepped in for Batum against the Pistons. So we've seen both sides of this. And as Double M15 points out, Lamb looks for his shot. Like, he's going to be aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
He scored over 17 points in both of these preseason games. He recognizes the work that he's put in this offseason has helped him to score the ball offensively. So he's going to look for that. And I don't expect that to change now that he is officially going to be in the starting lineup. He's definitely going to look to score and play to his strengths. And I just wonder, and I think this is what I'll be hopefully watching closely against Miami if we're able to watch this thing, is how the game plan changes, how the play calling changes in order to keep the ball moving. If these past 2 preseason games, David, Jeremy Lamb's been on. It's been working. But what happens when it doesn't work, when the ball needs to move? And what's the chemistry going to be like between Jeremy Lamb and Dwight Howard? Because at Media Day, we heard from Nick Batum saying, I'm going to get Dwight Howard touches in the post.
Right.
And that made sense because Nick Batum is a taller guard. He can throw it over the top, something that Kemba Walker may struggle to do with his height. Post entries, a little easier for Nick Batum. Pick and roll game, we were expecting big things from Nick Batum and Dwight Howard. Does that develop with Kemba Walker and Dwight Howard? And is there any chemistry between Lamb and Howard? I think those are all questions now that we have to pay attention to as we close out these final 3 preseason games and get ready for the regular season. At practice yesterday too, David, you were excited about this. Coach Clifford confirmed that we would be seeing Marvin Williams at the 3 during some matchup opportunities, and Marvin Williams playing alongside Frank Kaminsky. What are your thoughts on that, David?
Well, it's just interesting because we talk so much about those two guys, either one or the other, and Frank, maybe trying to take over for Marvin or Marvin trying to hold on to his spot. But Marvin's such a big part of the team, as we've talked about before. And this is another perfect example. They could slide him around. He played a lot of his career at the 3, so that's probably going to be a natural fit. So I was just curious kind of how those two played together, if there was any significant advantage, especially in like the 2-man lineups between those two guys. And there really wasn't. I mean, there was a lot of threes shot when those two guys are on the floor. The highest amount of 3-point attempts for any 2-man combo that played together last year. They played almost 600 minutes together just in those 2-man lineups. But one thing was interesting was one of the better 3-point making 3-man lineups was Kemba Walker, Frank Kaminsky, and Marvin Williams. Shouldn't be any surprise, really, because those 3 guys are all going to look, to shoot. But I think it's just another option that we're going to see a little bit more, especially with Lamb. I mean, with Batum out, and another instance of if they can get back to hitting some of those threes, that could be something we see more if it can help open up the floor for Kemba Walker and for some driving lanes for Kid Gilchrist as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an indication that the Hornets are going to have to be very creative in terms of getting three-point opportunities on offense and try to balance that effectively with being able to defend on the other end of the floor. And you mentioned that the three-man and the two-man lineups last year, a lot of that came when Frank Kaminsky was stepping into the center role for Cody Zeller. So they played alongside each other in that last half, and Frank Kaminsky was shooting the three ball well. And so that's where you're seeing all that three-point production increase. But the team overall was still struggling in the latter half of that year, didn't have the bump that they necessarily needed. And a lot of that had to do with defense because Cody Zeller being out really, really hurt them defensively because there wasn't a lot of depth behind Frank Kaminsky at center and certainly no rim protection at all. So things are going to change this season with Dwight Howard. Now, Marvin Williams and Frank Kaminsky did play 3-4 in Frank's rookie year with Spencer Hawes at center, and that was another three-point specialist lineup. It was Lynn Lamb, Marvin at 3, Frank Kaminsky, and Spencer Hawes, and that lineup played about 100 or so minutes, so not a ton, but it was one of Frank's most effective lineups in his rookie season, above-average offensive rating, and surprisingly, they didn't play very much. It was kind of a spot kind of deal, a matchup kind of deal, which is what you're going to see with. I mean, you could maybe envision a Monk, Marvin, Kaminsky, Howard, or maybe even Johnny O'Bryant, and work him in a little bit. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they sort of balance the need, the creative, get creative to get 3-point opportunities without sacrificing so much on defense. Double M15 says, I like it. We've always needed another 3. And if Marvin can keep up like he has in the past, it makes us bigger. Marvin, Frank, Cody. Yeah, I mean, Marvin, Frank, Cody, I'd love to see what that could do.
Marvin, Frank,
and Cody. Yeah, off the bench. I'd love to see. Yeah. I'd love to see what that second unit could do. And it sounds like from Clifford that we might get a little experimentation on that front to see how that lineup does defensively. Hey, let's talk about SeatGeek. I have the SeatGeek app on my phone, and it's by far the easiest way I found to shop for tickets. I can be anywhere, and with just a couple of taps on my phone, I can instantly find the seats that I want to, the concerts and the sporting events that I want to go to. I just used SeatGeek to secure some Panthers tickets because David, I guess they're good. I guess we can say they're good. All right?
They're going to be good. They're going to be competitive.
I guess. I feel like after Sunday we can sort of put that one. I was on the fence. I didn't know. But I think that, beating a good 3-1 Lions team, I think they might be good. So SeatGeek saves you time and money by searching multiple ticket sites to compare prices and find amazing deals. And to get you the most bang for your buck, SeatGeek grades every ticket based on value to help you immediately identify the best seats that fit your budget. Plus, every purchase is fully guaranteed, so you can shop for tickets on SeatGeek with confidence. Make SeatGeek your go-to app for finding the best deals on every type of ticket, from sports and concerts to comedy and theater. And the best part, our listeners get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code LONBA today. That's promo code LONBA for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Whew. David, you still with me?
Got to get it in. Oh, yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
All right. I spent a couple of minutes with Malik Monk yesterday at practice, and he had some interesting things to say. I wanted to get his take on Nick Batum's injury. David M. on the chat sounds like he's having a fun morning. It's always an adventure. You just have to embrace. You have to embrace the adventure. All right, well, Malik Monk is embracing the adventure that he will now have with probably not a different opportunity. Sounds like he thinks he's going to get the same kind of minutes that he was going to get even with Nick Batum in the lineup, but certainly I think a little bit more is falling on Malik's shoulders. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
No, it's always bad when you miss a veteran player. But, if me and Jalen got to step up now, it's our time. And we always can learn from him. He always going to teach us. He's not a selfish player, so he always going to teach us what he knows. But we missing a big part of the team now.
And Kemba Walker just recently said that he's stripping the rookie title from both you and Dwayne Bacon. How does that make you feel when the team leader says you guys aren't rookies anymore?
No, I think that came out the window when I stepped on the court. They all told me I'm going to play big minutes. So the rookie don't even matter when you're playing big minutes. So I'm the same as them right now. I'm learning, though, so I just got to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, when have you felt so far most like a rookie? When have you felt most like, oh my, this is a big step up?
Yeah, the first game in Boston, the defensive rotations, I was late. Sometimes not even there. But I learned the film, got better at Detroit, and I'm getting better every day. So.
And when have you felt most comfortable and most like I'm in control of what's going on right now?
Oh yeah, after I got my rhythm, it's probably I think the second half of Detroit game. That's when I got my rhythm and I felt comfortable.
Has anyone talked to you so far about what things would be like for you now that Nick will miss extended time?
No, not really. I think it'll be the same. I think I was going to play like 20 minutes. It might go up 25, 26, something like that, though. But I'm still on a big part of this team just like everybody else.
You mentioned defensive rotations before as something that you had to learn very quickly. Is there something offensively that you've had to adjust to so far?
No.
That's your game.
Yeah, offense is pretty natural to me. I move without the ball pretty natural. I pass the ball pretty natural, so it's all good.
Can you think of another time in your basketball career, high school, college, that something changed dramatically somewhere else in the team, just like this Nick Batum injury, that may alter the trajectory for you early on? Has anything like that happened to you before?
Yeah. I moved off the ball when I went to Kentucky. I was on the ball my whole life. But I went to Kentucky, I played off the ball. So that's what got my off-the-ball game good, and I can move without it and stuff like that. That's why I figured out I can do that.
What was your initial reaction to when that happened, and did that reaction change based on what happened there at Kentucky?
No, I mean, everybody going to have to give up something going to a school like Kentucky, whether it's your offense, defense, anything. But you're going to give up something. So I knew I was going to have to give up something, but I was comfortable with it.
As you look ahead to Monday night and the 2 preseason games in front of the home crowd, what is the impression that you want fans and the coaching staff to have of you as you approach your first NBA game?
I mean, I think everybody got their impression already. They seen what I could do. So it's just me being way more comfortable than I am right now. It's getting used to the offense.
There you go, Malik Monk yesterday at practice as he preps for Miami. And David, I mean, he had a great second half against Detroit, so it's good that he's finding his rhythm. Certainly just in time, as you know, I don't think his minutes will change, but I certainly think the responsibility for him will change. And as you heard, you know, it was a situation that changed dramatically for him his freshman year, his only year at Kentucky, having to move off ball, and it showcased his shooting ability, which helped him get drafted in the lottery. And now this situation is changing, and it may shift him back towards being that distributor that he was as a point guard in high school. So these circumstances may do him well. May have lost David. We'll try to get him back. And we've got I hope we do, because Double M15 has a great question here. Any advice on bringing newborns to the games? I don't have one, but I like David M's suggestion here. Make sure to get the headphones on their ears. I know I've got a couple of friends with a newborn, and they do the same thing. They got these massive noise-canceling headphones for the kiddos when they bring them to games, because, yes, it does get loud in Spectrum Center, especially for those high-profile games against, you know, Lakers, Thunder, Cavs, those marquee games, and all of those classic jersey nights. If you want to get out to one of those, the crowd is packed. It's a big arena, packs a lot of people in there, and it definitely gets loud, so you want to make sure to protect the kiddos' ears. I want to circle back to the Miami game real quick. One thing I forgot to mention, which I think is really interesting, is that the Hornets will be going up against a team in Miami. Oh, there we go, David. Hey, David, can you hear me?
You got me?
I do.
Yeah, you got me?
I do.
I don't know what. Apologies to everyone. I don't know what's going on. But as I was saying, you missed some real pearls on Malik Monk. But one thing we echoed was that, well, he brought up the fact that all those guys that go to Kentucky have to give up something, and that's something we've seen year after year when they come into the league. So yeah, you're right. We might be able to see a little of that creativity from Malik Monk that, wasn't showing at Kentucky last year. But man, you know what I love about that guy? He has confidence. And it's like anytime you or anyone else asks him about his offensive game, it's like a huge smile comes on his face. And if there's a question about it, he's just like, nah, we're good. We're good on the offense. I don't need to worry about my offensive game and my scoring ability. It's refreshing to see and a little exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to need, I think they've got plenty of defensive confidence on this team. When you have a team with Marvin Williams and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, essentially you've got two quarterbacks on the defense, guys that know where. See, this is the interesting thing about this team. It's built with guys who know where they need to be on defense, but they also know where everyone else needs to be. They understand how the machine works on defense. And I think the same can be said for Malik Monk on offense. Like he knows, he just picks up offense very quickly. And, they've been introducing a lot of new offense, and I'm sure they're going to be introducing some new wrinkles that will account for not having Nick Batum in the lineup. And so he'll have to pick up on those very quickly. But he sounds confident that he can do just that. The one thing I wanted to mention with Miami, David, I think it's an interesting matchup. They'll, of course, face off 4 times this season. And you've got two teams in Miami and Charlotte who have are both lacking in kind of that superstar talent and have both spent the offseason picking around the margins to try to improve the team. And they're both built around sort of one central player. In Miami, it's Hassan Whiteside. In Charlotte, it's Kemba Walker. But they're the same in that area, but they're very different in that Miami has built their team around size and athleticism, and the Hornets have built their team around skill and basketball IQ. So it's always interesting. They were 2-2 last season. The Hornets won the first 2 games in the first half of the season, and Miami picked up 2 wins in the second half of the season. So I think it's very interesting to see these two teams go head to head, because I think it's the same kind of overall strategy of building around one player and picking around the margins, but 2 different takes on that strategy.
Oh, for sure. And they definitely have kind of an ace in the hole there with Miami and Pat Riley, and just the kind of hidden ability and the chance that they always may land some big free agent superstar, right? Like Charlotte really doesn't have that. I mean, Miami's always going to be in play when they can for like who's ever on the free agent market, just because of who they are and where they are and what they built there, to be honest. But yeah, it's a different strategy and a different way to go about it. And think back to last year, Doug. Remember when Miami was like just drilling threes and turning Deion Waiters loose, and like up was down and left was right, and they were making an unbelievable run towards the playoffs. I mean, that was the thing that happened. I mean, that was crazy to see them do that last year. So they're always going to be a tough matchup for the Hornets, it feels like.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see who they start at power forward, because they started Kelly Olynyk, their big free agent pickup, in the last preseason game in place of James Johnson, who has been struggling a little bit but really hurt the Hornets last season. So it'll be interesting to see the Kelly Olynyk, Marvin Williams battle, and then Frank Kaminsky versus James Johnson. Johnson obviously having the size and the three-point skill as well. So that will be, if it is indeed James Johnson going up against Frank Kaminsky, that will be a tough matchup for him as well. Should be a good game again tonight. No television, but check around Facebook, and I'm sure there's some Reddit outlets that you could look into as well. And of course, it'll be on the radio, 102.5 WFNZ. Double M15 with a quick question here. How often do you think we will see Bacon? I think a lot of that will have to do with Travion Graham. What's that hamstring doing to him? Is he going to be able to see significant minutes in this preseason? I think it's been interesting, David. This has been a preseason without a lot of camp battles. Like, we haven't had a lot of questions about the rotation and who's going to do what. Even when Nick Batum went down, it was almost settled. Like, Jeremy Lamb starts at 2. But this could be an interesting one. Do we see Dwayne Bacon get some backup 3 minutes, or is it Travion Graham, who we have yet to really see get any action in the preseason because of that hamstring injury? And then Michael Carter-Williams. I don't think we're going to see him tonight. I think they're still working him back. I don't think he's done 5-on-5 yet. So they're still working him back into contact. May see him and possibly in the next preseason game or maybe the last one to get a little tune-up. But Julian Stone was hurting as well. So the backup point guard position continuing to be an issue for the Charlotte Hornets. But, Bacon could be. We could see him at the backup 3 tonight if Graham is continuing to ail with that hamstring issue.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think you're going to see increased minutes for Bacon and Monk. Although, like Monk said in the time you talked with him, he was kind of locked into that 20, 25 minutes a game, which is fun to hear. So we'll see. But I think Bacon's certainly going to get some more looks.
Real quick, want to give a shout-out to one of the newest Buzzamaniacs members of the Nest, our Patreon subscribers. There's the tweet from Will. I'm finally a Let's Swarm Charlotte Patreon member. Thanks for giving a Hornets fan in Iowa the best coverage anywhere. Well, thank you, Will. I mean,
Yes.
I didn't bring the microphone into the studio. I meant to with the mic flag, but we just bought a little mic flag for the microphone with our logo on it, and that was bought with the contributions of our Patreon members. And the mic flag seems like a little thing, but you get that mic flag on television, and people go, "Oh, what's Locked On Hornets? I'll look them up. I'll check them out." So those little things make a big difference, and your contributions of $1, $3, $5, those things really measure up for us, and we really appreciate it. It certainly means a lot to us that you guys take the financial contribution seriously and give those to us. We really appreciate it. So thanks so much for listening to Locked On Hornets here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Hornets. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, whatever you use to get your podcast. Just search Locked On Hornets. And shoot us your Hornets questions and thoughts to buzz at lockedonhornets.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/lockedonhornets. We try to get on here and stream live whenever we have the opportunity. And if you're subscribed, then you get a notification that we're going live and you can check us out. For David, I'm Doug. Go Hornets. Go America. Let's swarm Charlotte.